Hello, welcome to episode 40 of the Saluki Gamescast. This is Friday, March 3rd, 2023. My name is Justin Young. Joining me, as always, are OJ Duncan and Alicia Utecht. How are y'all doing?
It's that time of the semester.
Oh, come on. You got to be in a better mood. You just had a great conference presentation.
Oh, yeah.
At least your part.
Hey, yours was pretty good, too.
Oh, just pretty good for my part.
It was meh.
You weren't even there, OJ.
I know.
It was okay for you.
Yeah, no, we just got done doing, today is the SIU Conference on Women, and so Justin and I just got done doing a panel about reboots of stories where the reboot centers female characters. So that was a really cool panel. I'm glad that we got to do that.
Yeah, it was fun, and I think it went really well, and Cassandra and Diana were both great doing that. So, and Alicia was fine, I guess.
Yeah.
If you count that a presentation, then maybe it was fine.
Great on a curve.
Coming up, hey, how do I get extra credit on this? Because I know I just bombed this speech. Yeah, but very cool thing. Like, if you remember, a year ago, we got to do the panel on women in games, and now we got to do another panel. So we've been doing this for a year.
Yeah, so a year ago, that conference helped kick off what we're doing here with this podcast. And in fact, this week is the 1-year anniversary of us starting this podcast. So,
Yay.
Yeah. Whoa, die down. All right.
That was all for me, right?
The one person who wasn't on the panel.
But, 40 episodes in a year. So that's pretty exciting this week and everything. And thank you for everyone who listens to this podcast. It's really cool and fun to get to do. And, I think when we started this a year ago, it was kind of on a lark. Hey, this might be fun to do. And OJ, I knew you already, but Alicia, I didn't really know you hardly at all.
Yeah, I knew you because our offices were next to each other, but I didn't I don't think I ever had a conversation with you. I just was like, oh yeah, that's Justin. He's in the office next to mine.
I think because we never actually crossed paths, our schedules were different, and so it wasn't that we were just ignoring each other or being rude and not speaking to each other.
No, I was like, that guy, that's sus. I don't want to get involved talking to him.
Well, I did have that just one big eye and brightly colored, so I was sus. But yeah, and of course Ryan, I didn't know Ryan really particularly at all either. So it's been a cool year to get to know all of you and do this podcast. And we're 40 episodes down and hopefully 40 more to come.
Hopefully many more than 40.
Yeah.
Well, I figure one of you will have to graduate at some point.
But that's why we have Carly and Mario and more people.
Right.
Yeah.
We have plenty of people to come in and fill the spots and everything as we go. So yeah, that's been fun. A year of doing this podcast together. Anything else been going on for you?
So, okay. Somebody who in the past really, really did me dirty had karma come back and bite them in the ass very recently. And this is a life-changing type thing. And my petty inner child is at Disney World right now because of all this. I'm so happy, and it's Schadenfreude, and I'm probably a horrible person for enjoying this, but they really, really did me dirty, and now things are going very badly for them. And so I'm so happy. And even this morning, the first thing that happened when I walked outside is I stepped in a big puddle, and my socks had been wet all day, and I'm still having one of the best days of my life.
Dang.
So that's how I am right now.
This is your petty OJ update of the week.
Yeah.
What is OJ being petty about this week?
I mean, I can think of some people that I would love to have that moment with, so I'm so glad that you get to have that moment.
Thank you. It's a momentous day.
Well, Well, for me, I got to see Cocaine Bear this week, which is a very entertaining movie, and I recommend everyone goes. Well, if that sounds like your kind of movie, right? If something like Lake Placid or Tucker and Dale versus Evil sounds like your kind of movie, if you've seen either of those, this is a very entertaining, goofy horror comedy. More leaning on the comedy side than the horror side.
On a scale of 1 to Sharknado, how good is it?
Well, so I don't really like the Sharknado movies.
What?
Yeah.
Blasphemy.
You know, because they lean too heavy into that. We're trying to be bad. We're trying to be a bad movie, right? Like it's when movies try to replicate The Room, and you're like, oh, like, no, what makes that movie good is that he was actually trying. And he failed spectacularly. And so I feel like the same, and people can lay that criticism against Cocaine Bear, but there's like just such a joy into that movie. You could tell that the people making that movie were having a really good time. And
Well,
were
you
like,
said it's Elizabeth Banks directed it, right?
Yes.
Like she knows what kind of movie she's making.
yeah, I mean, this is somebody who starred in Wet Hot American Summer, right? Like she knows how to make a sort of ethereal, like crazed comedy. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just a fun movie, right? And it's not the greatest movie, but it's a whole lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. It has esteemed character actress Margaret Martindale, and I also found out that it has one of my favorite TikTokers in it. It's got Sice, I think is how you pronounce his name. And he did a set of videos about someone in his retail, essentially, and like the background was like an IKEA store, and it was stupid like customer questions, and then he would just answer them like sarcastically and horribly. And so he's apparently a paramedic in there. So I was just gonna wait and stream it at home, but I think I might actually go out and see it now because
I'll say, OJ, you played the game, but you didn't see the movie?
I did. The game was enough.
He and Margot actually have a scene together.
Oh,
So,
perfect. That's a melding of two worlds.
yeah, it's like everything's coming together. This is paying off, like your petty redemption, and then like, you get this to cap it all off.
Yeah.
This is the celebration. Just go watch a bear go nuts on cocaine.
But yeah, I mean, it's been a pretty good week and everything, headed into a weekend, then one more before spring break. So we'll get through it all.
1 week more.
But let's just lead that right into Alicia. What have you been playing?
I've been playing with Faramir, the kitty.
Are you winning or losing?
Depends on the day.
How much bloodletting is going on?
He has become obsessed with, specifically, it's only when it's bedtime or when it's in the morning and I'm not up yet. He just bites the tip of my nose. And now he started like trying to bite the inside of my nose, and I'm like, no, stop.
Like the bridge between your nostrils? Or...
Like trying to get his mouth inside my nostril to bite it. And I'm just like, Faramir, can you not? Like, I take allergy meds, but this is not going to help my allergies, friend.
How can I get the most pet dander directly into your nose?
Right?
I'll just stick my head up there.
He's, you know, we love the naughty ones. They always have character. But yeah, that's been a lot of my time has been with him and trying to, you know, stay on top of homework and teaching and all that. I did get to play a little bit more of Pokemon Violet. I have not gotten yet to do the new raids for the new Paradox Pokemon that they announced on Pokemon Day, which that direct was definitely a direct that happened. You know, I was not expecting it to be mostly about Pokemon Sleep, but that was definitely a Pokemon Day direct that happened. But I'm hoping, you know, a lot of the work that I was doing this week were things that are finished by today. So I'm hoping this weekend I can actually kind of sit down and chill and, you know, do some of those new Paradox Pokemon raids, go out there, check out how much it will cost me to buy the DLC, see if I want to buy it now and finally get away from those stupid school uniforms in those games.
But the DLC isn't released right now, right? It's coming out this fall?
Right. The DLC starts in fall, but once you buy it, you get access to the clothing options from it.
Okay.
Which, that is one of the areas where Scarlet and Violet really was a downturn from some of the other more recent games. Like, Sword and Shield had a lot of really cool outfits that you could give to your character and change it up and have fun with it. And then Scarlet and Violet is like, you get a winter uniform, a spring uniform, a summer uniform, and a fall uniform. And that is it. And
so they can sell it as DLC.
Exactly. But I am excited. They've been posting a little bit more about the DLC and some of the upcoming legendaries with it. So I am looking forward to it. I know it's going to be a hot minute before we actually get to play it, but you know, if it's going to cost me $59.99 today versus $61 in November whenever it comes out, I can't do the $59.99 right now, but I might as well do that when it's going to get me a little bit of benefit early, even if it doesn't give me more gameplay early.
And I guess we might as well go ahead and talk about it right now. This DLC is split into 2 parts, correct?
Yes. Yeah. The first part is I want to say the first part is when you're going and being an exchange student at another Pokemon university. And then the second part, the first part might be your summer field trip thing. And then the second part is when you go be an exchange student. I honestly don't remember. I barely remember what happened this morning, let alone what happened on Monday in that very mediocre Pokemon Day Direct. But
yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a few minutes. All right, so a little bit more of Pokemon Violet, and then hoping to get a little bit more time over the weekend.
Yeah, hoping to get a little more time. I'm hoping. There's a couple of things going on right now where, like, I'm watching my spending, but I'm hoping once those things get cleared up that I can go get the Kirby Return to Dreamland Deluxe. So fingers crossed that everything goes well and that I can have the $60 to spend on that, because that is one that I have been really looking forward to and I really want to play. It's just money.
Yeah, I've been tipped to pick that up after playing the demo, because I did enjoy that demo, and I haven't played, for lack of a better term, a traditional style Kirby in a very long time. I played Forgotten Land, obviously last year, but that's not a traditional style, moving into 3D. So, yeah, playing that demo seemed very good, and it seems like a game that I would probably enjoy playing through. I just don't know if I have the time to invest in Kirby.
That's a mood, honestly. Like, even me looking at it as a massive Kirby fan, I'm like, so summer.
Yeah, and then summer you have Zelda coming out and all sorts of other things. So
yeah, I'm a heathen. I've never played a Zelda game.
You've never played a Zelda?
I've never played a single Zelda game. I've watched walkthroughs. I would love to play a Zelda game, but
I think we need to correct that. I think you need to play a Zelda game.
I would love to, if you can get me one that's not $60. Because I look at Breath of the Wild and I am overwhelmed. It's a little too open world for me. I'm
sure.
like, give me some direction.
I think you could start with some of the older games, and kind of work your way up. So, I mean,
A Link to the Past is on the Switch thing, isn't it?
yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah, the Switch Online, A Link to the Past is on there. The 2 NES Zeldas are on there. And then I believe Game Boy, they on the Game Boy, they put out
Minish Cap, I think.
Well, that's Game Boy Advance.
Okay.
What is it called? Link's Awakening.
Oh,
They put that out for the Game Boy. There's also the remake that's on Switch, but they put out the original on Game Boy. So, yeah, Nintendo Switch Online, you get all of those sort of classic Zelda games. And then if you upgrade to the expansion pass, you get the N64 ones and the Game Boy Advance ones as well. So, but I mean, if you've never played any Zelda, you can just start with the basic ones.
Well, I've watched my all-time favorite YouTuber, Real Mithril, has done walkthroughs of, the original Zelda and the second one, and he did the second quest on the first game and all that. So like, I know the Zelda games.
Right.
Like, I've watched walkthroughs of most of them. I've watched speed runs of Breath of the Wild. So like, I do know Zelda. I've just never played it.
I think A Link to the Past for the Super Nintendo and Ocarina of Time for the Nintendo 64 are good ones to start with. I guess people can debate that, but the first two are really difficult to go back to now.
Yeah.
Particularly part 2, because that's just such a weird game. And like, I've grown to love it even more, like the older I get and the older it gets alongside me. That I feel like I love that game more than I even did as a kid, because I like it because it's so weird, right? It's like Super Mario Brothers 2.
And yet you don't understand how I feel about Sonic Adventure 2.
I actually really liked Sonic Adventure 1 at the time. I always felt like Sonic Adventure 2 was... I didn't like Shadow all that much.
That was before he was even as far gone as Edgy the Hedgy gets.
And that was before they had introduced... what's the name of the white one?
Silver,
yeah. And they had introduced all the, like, we're just going to make a rainbow of Sonics. And they're basically like Scorpion and Sub-Zero. We'll just color one different each time and call it a different character. So, all right. OJ, what have you been playing?
So this week, well, actually it was last weekend. I haven't had a whole lot of time to play, but I played a lot of Pokemon Go last weekend, because there was a Hoenn tour that was happening. And so they released Primal Groudon and Kyogre. So we got the energy for that. And the way that the Mega Evolutions and the Primal Evolutions work in Pokemon Go is that you have to defeat them in a raid to get enough energy, and then you can Mega Evolve or Primal Evolve one. Then once you do that, you can make one that has been Mega Evolved or Primal Evolved your buddy, and as you're walking around, you get more energy if you want. So then, and then once you have Mega Evolved one, after a certain amount of time, you can do it again for free. And it lasts for like 8 hours when you're doing it. So it was nice to get a few more Groudon and Kyogre, because when I was still playing the first time, they had been out before I quit. But I didn't have a good one. I still don't have a good Groudon, but I have a really good Kyogre now. And so that was fun. And then there was a whole lot of stuff for doing that. So I was out like 4 or 5 hours. But okay, so there's a research that I paid for. So I gave them money so I could do this research. And there's 6 steps.
Wait, you for Pokemon Go?
Yeah. So they have like special research that you can do that you pay money for. And I think this one ends up with, who is it? It's a shiny legendary Pokemon at the very end. I can't remember which one it is. But so it's a masterwork research, and it's a big thing. And so I gave $5 to Niantic. And the first step is to catch 385 Kanto Pokemon, 385 Johto Pokemon, and 385 Hoenn Pokemon. And I only play like 10, 15 minutes a day. And as someone who didn't play most of the original games, I know what Kanto Pokemon are. I have no idea what's Johto or Hoenn out of the ones that are out.
Yo, I got you.
Yeah.
Just anytime you come across one, just send me a screenshot and be like,
Yeah.
because I'm like gens 1 through 4. I've got anything past that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got no clue.
Yeah. And so I'm having to catch everything, and I have 66 Kanto, 154 Hoenn because we had the Hoenn event last weekend, but only 23 Johto ones, and I'm like, I'm trying to figure out which ones are these, and then I don't want to have to catch, like, I know Pidgey is the one for Kanto, but I don't know what the Johto and Hoenn birds and rats and stuff are. So I'm just having to catch everything, and it's like, It's a little...
Johto, you want Sentret and Furret for the rats, and Hoot Hoot and Noctowl for the birds.
Okay. See, I haven't seen either of them. That's probably what my numbers are, though.
Yeah. And then Hoenn, Zigzagoon, and Linoon for the rats, and Tailo and Swellow for the birds.
Okay, yeah, I've seen those. That's where most of those are from. And then entered a new season in Pokemon Go. So they have different seasons, like there was Season of Light, Season of Dark, etc. The new season is...
Do we get Seasons of Love?
I'm sure somewhere in there.
525,600
Pokemon.
minutes.
We're getting there.
That's how many you have to catch by the end of this.
Yeah, probably. So for the next 90 days, it's Season 10, Rising Heroes, which is kind of cool because like everything has a comic book theme like around it. So it's pretty cool. And it is, let's see. So it's introducing... well, after the Pokemon Direct, the Gimmighoul, there's a roaming form that you can only get in Pokemon Go from connecting to one of the games. And you don't have to connect it to your own game because like for Meltan previously with Let's Go, you could connect to anybody's game and then get a box for Meltan. And this is the same for Gimmighoul. You connect and you get a box and then the roaming form comes out. And then you get a lure, or you can buy a lure that changes a stop to like a golden stop and you get coins from there. And you need 999 coins to evolve the roaming form Gimmighoul in the game. And then you get stuff in the game too when you connect because you can send postcards. And they recently started something in Pokemon Go where you could select the postcards and then get a version of Vermilion. And then now you can send those postcards into Violet and Scarlet. So you just start playing a little bit more. Again, now
Shadow of Vermilion?
I know they're butterflies and there's a lot of them.
Yeah, there's like 19 different forms, I think, depending on the environment.
And you have to make friends across the entire world in order to get them all.
There's like an NES game called Shadow of Vermilion. Mm-hmm. Sorry.
No, I know the game. That's what I was thinking of too. I don't know what Vermilion means, but I do know that there's the butterflies in here. And so Elite Raids are coming back with Reggie Ilecki and Reggie Drago, which I don't have either of them, so I'm very excited about that too. And so there's another research that I have to pay for to get Willow's wardrobe. And
Willow from Buffy?
I wish. If I could be Dark Willow in this game, I would.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
you want her dark wardrobe, right?
Yes.
Evil Willow.
Yeah. And then they added something that nobody asked for. So there have always been Pokemon of different size, and there was extra small through extra large. Mm-hmm. And that's always existed. And there's medals for extra small Rattatas and I think extra large Pidgeys or something.
Extra large Magikarp.
Magikarp, that's it, yeah. And now they added something a few months ago where it tells you your record size, small and large. But it didn't have those from the whole of existence until a few months ago. So every Pokemon you catch, it was showing a pop-up like, oh, this is the biggest one you caught. Oh, this is the smallest one you caught. Now they have introduced extra, extra small and extra, extra larges. So now all those pop-ups are going to keep on coming again.
Oh my gosh, no.
And just make it worse. And now I have to keep on catching all of these Pokemon because I don't know which region they're from. And then I keep on getting these little things popping up. And it's taking up my time.
Oh my gosh.
So I wish I could turn that off.
That's hilarious, though, actually.
It'd be more hilarious if I had more time to play.
I would say it's not going to be hilarious once I reopen Pokemon Go for the first time in 4 months and have to deal with it, but it's hilarious that you're dealing with it.
But yeah, and there's one thing that needs to happen in Pokemon Go that they haven't done for a long time. My partner Kyle is playing, and there's research for Meltan in the game. And one of the steps for the research for Meltan is to catch Executes. And Execute hasn't been spawning in Pokemon for over a year. So anybody
a year?
Yeah. I think there was a very short time where they could be spawning, but he wasn't at the stage of that research yet. And then after that, there are other Pokemon that are really rare that you have to catch. Those were all around last weekend, though, but he's not at that stage yet, so he couldn't do it. So he just needs to find Executes, and there's currently no way to catch them. So,
see, I wish that for that they would implement, like, someone can trade it to you, and that would cover it.
Yeah.
But then they don't get you looking at the app, and they don't get you buying things.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not like they have anything you can buy to get Execute right now.
Yeah, unfortunately, no. And even there's Mossy Lures, which you would think would probably bring an Execute, but nope, they don't spawn with that. So they need to bring those back. That if you have a big research like that one that requires something, it should be spawning all the time, even if it's rare.
Yeah.
But yeah, and even I don't think they're in eggs, but even if they were in eggs, it wouldn't count because you have to actually catch them.
No, you have to catch it.
Yeah. So they need to bring back Executes and have the rest of them spawning all the time too, because they're probably going to turn those off, and then I think it's Lileep and Amaranth that you have to catch to the next level.
Yeah, because you need the fossil mons at some point.
And then I can't remember what the rest of them are.
Those are Hoenn, by the way.
Okay, well, it's good. Yeah, because they were all there last weekend, so I do know that one. Yeah.
Did you just say that they're Hoenn?
Well, you can catch me too then if you want. But so, so it was really frustrating because those are the next two steps is you have to catch those, and they were there all weekend. But so we're playing a lot, and so Scarlet and Violet have really, really captured my partner's attention more than any other previous Pokemon game. So it has a lot more. It has stuff that's bringing him in more than he would just play through the games and be done with. But now with this one, he's shiny hunting, and he's going through and filling out the Pokedex, and he's doing it. So these games are really, really have something that are bringing in more people than the other ones. Because, like I said, he liked them, but never really went into detail. But now he's like, I want to get ready for these raids, and I want to get all of this stuff. So they're doing something right with these. Yeah.
Well, I mean, they've sold already over 20 million copies, which is an insane amount, like in a very short amount of time. And, they're higher than that now. That was the last time we got numbers. So, I mean, for all the complaints that those games had, they were successful. People liked them enough to put money down, and even well after the initial reviews were out there. So, good. I mean, good for Pokemon. Hopefully they take all that money they're making and invest it in making better Pokemon games going forward.
Just make them ready for release before you release them.
All right. Is that it, OJ?
Yeah.
All right. I have mostly been kind of catching up on games that I was already playing. So I've played more of Metroid Prime Remastered and Hi-Fi Rush. I'm getting to the ends of both of those games, or at least what I assume is the end for Hi-Fi Rush. For Metroid Prime, I do know I'm near the end because I've played through that game before, and they didn't add anything.
They didn't add an epilogue?
No, they didn't go the Kirby route. There's no Ridley's epilogue.
Can you imagine how epic that would be, though? Ridley's epilogue.
I think it would be pretty popular if they did something like that. So they did that when they remade Metroid 1 and did it as Zero Mission on the Game Boy Advance. They actually did add some stuff after the end of the game. So, it's not unheard of that they could do that. So I've mostly been playing through those near the end of the games. Like I said, I think for both of those. And both just fantastic games. So I highly recommend both of those games if you haven't played them. And the one thing I did play that is new, at least for me, it's been out for, since the end of January, I guess it was. So they took the 3 most recent Hitman games and they have combined them now. So if you go and try to buy the Hitman games now, you buy instead a new product that's called Hitman World of Assassination. And if you already own Hitman 3, then you got this automatically. But if you're buying it new now, you just buy it as one package. And basically what they did is they took the 3 games worth of content and just combined them into one game, which is something that they had been doing. If you owned Hitman 1 and 2 and bought Hitman 3, then those levels would come into Hitman 3. But now they're just selling it as one combined package. And when they did that, they retitled the package as Hitman World of Assassination, but they also introduced a new freelancer mode, which is basically Hitman Rogue. And so it takes those levels and it will like drop you into one of those levels and say, here's the person you need to kill in the level, and here's the item that you need to use to do it. And so it constantly is spawning you new missions and everything. And then there's like tiers you work your way up, and they get progressively more difficult. And then you get rewards from like doing those and everything. So it's really a way to take the Hitman games and basically make them a sort of endless like way to keep playing all this content. And it's really cool. Like it's really like one of the most like clever ways to extend a game's life. And I think we've talked about this before on here about, you know, why doesn't Pokemon do something more like this? And this would be really cool if Pokemon did more stuff like this. Hitman is doing this, and it's really cool, and it makes it feel like an entirely new game, even if you've played through those games, original content. And those levels are just so good in those games. They're just so like expansive. And one of the advantages of this is that it makes you play through parts of those levels that maybe you didn't originally play through, because playing through those, you get very used to, well, this is the route I'm going to take through the level. And by remixing this and dropping you into new locations to start, you kind of have to go, oh, wait, I'm here. I need to get up here. So the easiest way is to go through this part of the level, which is a part I never actually go through, or, you know, never use those shortcuts and everything. So if you haven't played the Hitman games, there's never been a better time to play them, because you can buy this package and get all the content from all three games, and that's just a huge wealth of content. So I played a little bit of that, but not really enough to give, you know, a super in-depth view on it. But it seems really cool and really a whole lot of fun. And I have a friend who streams just playing the Hitman games, and he's got quite a bit of followers, at least on YouTube, from doing that. So there's certainly a community for that.
Mm-hmm. I would love to see a Pokemon like that, where it's the first like sets of games, especially like all the Game Boy ones. If they put it all into one where I could just go through, I'd probably play it.
Yeah, I've seen fan games that are roguelikes, but it would be really cool to have something official where like I feel like it would be Safari Zone-esque.
Yeah.
But, you know, let us actually battle. Don't make us throw rocks or mud or whatever it might be in what particular generation. But I would be interested in that. That would be... I'm generally not a fan of roguelike games just because I like to have that sense of completion. But I think that it's one of those things, like they've tried to make Pokemon where the shelf life, for lack of a better term, lasts in terms of doing different raids and stuff like that. But that would be another really interesting way to make that happen.
Well, and there are the like rogue lights, and always the difference between a roguelike and a roguelite, I don't know. Like people get very uptight about those distinctions. But anyways, there are roguelites, things like Dead Cells and Rogue Legacy that do have a very clear beginning and end to them, right? So you could do that within a Pokemon game and just say, well, everything in the middle is kind of mixed up, right?
Yeah.
And that would be fun as a way, because it seems to me that a lot of the Pokemon fans want that. They want that replayability that those games don't have. And, you know, again, Hitman seems to be, you know, trying to figure out how to do this. With these very detailed worlds that you can endlessly explore.
They could definitely change like the types of the gyms or something in Pokemon, and so you don't know till you get there.
There you go. Change the types of the gyms. You know, even if they had the potential to do this with Scarlet and Violet, but doing level scaling, so it's having that open world element, go wherever you want. And, okay, you go to this gym leader first, they use different Pokemon, versus if you go to them last, they're using final stage mons.
Yeah.
And I would love to see that kind of stuff happen with Pokemon. I think that would be a lot of fun, and it's something that a lot of us were hoping for with Scarlet and Violet, and just didn't quite happen, but maybe Generation 10.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Pokemon, let's move into news. And Alicia, you already talked about a little bit of the news that came out of Pokemon Day. A couple of big stories beyond the new DLC announced and everything. We on this podcast we guessed that part.
Yeah, we were wrong about the type of the DLC, but we knew there was going to be DLC.
Right, like that seemed the most obvious bet and everything. The other two things that I thought were pretty interesting to come out of this, one is that they announced Pokemon Concierge, which is a new sort of stop motion animated show for Netflix. Which, hey, I even know that it's Psyduck on the poster. And so that looks pretty cool and everything. So that's kind of fun to see them doing an entirely new style of Pokemon show. This looks very sort of Fantasy Island-ish, which is kind of fun. So, that's kind of neat. Their big news came out that they're actually releasing Pokemon Sleep. So
that was like 85% of the Pokemon Day Nintendo Direct was Pokemon Sleep.
So both of you play Pokemon Go or have played Pokemon Go in the past. Do you have any interest at all in Pokemon Sleep?
I actually do.
Yeah.
I messaged the group chat about this when they first did it, but I'm like, I kind of love that, when Pokemon Go first came out, and then they announced Pokemon Sleep like a year after that, and so this has been something we've known about for a while. But it's like I kind of love that they're really doing everything. They're like, get outside, go get sunshine, and now also make sure you're getting sleep. Yeah, I think it's a cute little thing. I'm sure I will download it and start with it. I don't know how long I'll maintain interest in it, but I'm definitely interested in giving it a try when it comes out, even if I will make fun of Nintendo for making 85% of Pokemon Day about it.
So you capture different Pokemon by different types of sleep, and you put your phone next to your head, next to the pillow, and it measures how you sleep. I don't understand how it measures the different types of sleep.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure I understand that either, to be honest, but...
I mean, it takes on a very sort of like Nightmare on Elm Street, the Dream Warriors. It's going to be measuring how I sleep, and it's going to like deliver me a Pokemon based on how I slept.
I mean, I'm the only member of my immediate family who doesn't have sleep apnea, and so like I'm very used to my mom and my dad and my sister all get like little reports from their machines about how they slept.
The CPAP machine.
Yeah. And so it's like I don't quite know how the phone is going to figure that out, but we've all already got nanobots in our blood because of the COVID vaccine, so who cares?
Well, and they've got 5G.
Yeah.
So I guess they can just report.
But there's apps that you have that measure the types of sleep that you have already too.
Is there really?
Yeah, and some that like record you all night.
Okay, that's kind of spooky.
And then they it says, oh, hey, you snored at like 12:33 a.m. and then you farted at like 12:35 a.m. Right? And so I think it probably does that.
I don't know if I want to know when I fart.
And because I've seen TikToks of people who said, oh, yeah, here I'm doing this. I'm recording it. And it was like, you were visited by a demon at 1:33 a.m. And it was like, or something like that. So, but yeah. And then so it tells you, hey, this is how you slept. But most of those I've done like a watch or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe it's just your breathing it does. Because, I have sleep apnea and I have a CPAP machine. And when they did a sleep study, like they measured a bunch of different stuff. So probably the movement is there.
I'll say like when you do that, it's okay. It's your breathing. It's your snoring. Is your mouth open?
Yeah.
Are you breathing through your nose? It's what's going on with your chest. It's all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I sleep with my phone next to my head anyway, so this is just I'm not gonna have to change anything.
You might as well catch Pokemon while you're doing it.
Yeah, and so they also announced the Pokemon Go Plus Plus, which so the Pokemon Go Plus was it was just like a watch that you wore, and you could have Pokemon running in the background with your phone closed.
It was like a little pedometer, basically, wasn't it?
No,
no, they did that for Heart Gold and Soul Silver further back.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it would buzz you if you went by a stop, or if there were Pokemon there, and you hit the button, and it would do the stops, and or it would throw one Pokeball at a Pokemon that was there, and then it would just throw it regular. There's no curveballs. There's nothing special with it, and then it would either catch it or run. And soon afterwards, an item called like Gotchas came out, and those would automatically do everything where you didn't have to press a button. You would just walk and it would do all that. And those were not supported by Niantic, but they have existed since Pokemon Go came out. The Pokemon Go Plus Plus is finally an actual Niantic product that does it. And so it spins everything automatically. It catches things automatically. And you can put it next to your head for the sleep rather than just your phone. Too. So you can just always have it on you at any point and just keep on playing Pokemon Go all the time. So I'll probably get one. My partner has a Gotcha, but I don't. And so I think I'll probably get a Pokemon Go Plus Plus just for that aspect, and can use it for sleep as well.
There you go.
All right. Well, anything else to say about Pokemon Day before we move on?
It was definitely a direct that happened.
Yeah, I'm really surprised there wasn't a new Pokemon game, and not necessarily. I mean, obviously not a new generation. They just released this one, and not even the Legends series, right? Which we assume will be a series. We assume they're making a new one at Arceus.
No, but everyone had their hopes so high for a Gen 5 remake.
Well, yeah, another remake, or even something like new Pokemon Snap, right? Like if they did another little side game or something. I'm really surprised.
Another mystery dungeon? Sign me up.
Yeah, I'm surprised there wasn't something like that to be announced.
You and everyone else in the Pokemon community.
Yeah, I mean, they've been on a pretty good rotation of, just churning those games out. So, maybe this is still kind of the lingering effects of COVID and the shutdown and everything. They're just a little behind. All right, let's see. EA is putting out a poll to fans where they're asking about interest in Dead Space 2 and 3 remakes. This is the least news possible. Like that new Dead Space remake has gotten rave reviews and seems to be selling particularly well, so I'm not at all shocked to hear this.
I'm shocked that they're polling fans instead of just doing it.
Right. They're solid games. Dead Space, all the Dead Spaces are very solid games, so just make it. We're going to buy it.
Yeah, I wonder, whenever a company does this, I wonder if this is somebody trying to cover their butt before they green light this, and some executive can say, "Well, look, we did the marketing research." So I don't know. Elden Ring has announced their first expansion called Shadow of the Erd Tree, which the first 5 times I saw this, I was convinced it said End Tree. So
I was kind of wondering. I was looking at this. I was like, is that a typo?
No, not this time. It usually is. It's called Shadow of the Erd Tree. There's all sorts of fan theories and speculation about what this is actually going to be. Who knows? It's Elden Ring. It's more Elden Ring. Again, this is the least surprising announcement, just like with the Pokemon DLC. They do this with all the Souls games. So, we knew there would be some expansion. Final Fantasy 16 PC port will not be ready in 6 months after PS5 exclusivity ends. So when that game releases this summer, it is going to be exclusive to the PlayStation 5 for 6 months. They announced they're working on a PC port as well, but even after that 6 months, it will not be ready to release then. So it's looking like more, PlayStation's going to get a year exclusivity out of this game at least. So great news for Sony, bad news for PC players who wanted the new Final Fantasy.
I mean, better that they acknowledge that it won't be ready than shove it out in 6 months and have it be garbage.
Yeah, we don't need any more bad ports on PC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take the time you need to do it right. Let's see. In movie news, which seems to be a regular part of this podcast each week now, which just seems insane, going back even when we started a year ago, I feel like we weren't talking about movie adaptations all that often, but now all the time. So the Super Mario movie has been moved up 2 days from April 7th to April 5th, and that is from Good Friday to Passover. So make of that what you will.
Yeah, like you said, there's a joke in there somewhere. I don't know.
Again, it should have been March 10th.
It should have been March 10th. Why they didn't do March 10th, I will never understand.
Other movie news, Atomic Monster, which is James Wan's production company. James Wan, who's famous for directing a lot of low-budget horror films, and Blumhouse Productions are working together on a Dead by Daylight film. This was kind of surprising. I mean, it's not surprising because this property seems perfect to be made into a film. But this property is probably better known by most people for all the DLC that they released. That's like Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, and Ghostface from the Scream films. And so, I feel like they'll use the original killers that they created for the game, but it's a game that nowadays I feel like most people think of all the DLC for it first, or at least I do. Maybe other people don't. Maybe the diehard fans don't.
But then you can build the serial killer cinematic universe.
Well, yes, we need another Jason versus Freddy.
Versus Alien versus Predator versus just bring them all in. It's like Super Smash Killers.
Oh, there is a fighting game. There is a fan-made fighting game that is all the slasher killers versus one another. And I think I still have a copy of that.
Nice.
I think it got taken down offline. I think some movie studios got litigious over it.
Oh, man.
Well, this would be more like Mortal Kombat, I guess, than Super Smash Brothers, because I'm sure they would just be completely wrecking each other.
Right. Yeah. Or what if Super Smash Brothers was remade but with an M rating?
I would love that. I would love to have fatalities in Super Smash Brothers. I absolutely loved fatalities in Mortal Kombat, and I know that makes me sound like a psychopath, but
life's no fun if you're totally sane.
Exactly, and that's the best part of every single Mortal Kombat is me figuring out and doing all of the fatalities.
I mean, that was a huge part of the appeal of that game originally in arcades.
Yeah.
Right? Anybody who says differently is just lying.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, I mean, it's not that good. Like, the fighting is good, but, it's not that good. Like, other games beat out the fighting.
Yeah, Street Fighter 2 was always a better fighting game than the Mortal Kombat series.
Yeah.
But Mortal Kombat had better style to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and they just got better over time. Because the one with what is it? Johnny Cage's daughter.
Cassie Cage.
Yeah, Cassie Cage, and then she kills someone and takes a selfie with it. It's amazing. It is just amazing.
Is that 10 when they introduced the Combat Kids?
Yeah. And Jacqueline, can't remember her, Jax's daughter.
Yeah.
Yep. The first time I saw that, I screamed. I was like, "Oh my god, this is just amazing!"
Yeah, I mean they do those games in that style. You know, I guess nobody's really trying to do it anymore, but other people did try to mimic and copy it, and nobody could get it right. So often imitate it, never duplicate it. So yeah. In other movie news, this actually just came out today. Jonathan Crystal, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. I'm going to say Crystal, has been tapped to direct Detective Pikachu 2. So the only reason that this is really notable is that they've actually hired a director to do this film. And to me, that's a little bit notable and everything, that this film seems to be having progress. It was just, I feel like a couple of weeks ago on this podcast, we were talking about that there hadn't been any talk of this sequel.
Yeah, we were like, hang on, this is still happening?
And now they've hired a director, which, you know, I don't think they're into even the casting stage yet, but they are like into the development stage, so, and announcing it publicly. So it looks like we might actually get a Detective Pikachu 2 film somewhat soon.
I still don't quite understand. Like, I'll be interested to see how they make that work. Because with the ending of the first one, like, Detective Pikachu is kind of done.
Well, I mean, yes, I agree, but like you can tell they always intended that to be a franchise, right? Like there's no way they intended that to be a one and done film. Even if like they set it up to be one and done.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, money, they were always going to make a second one. But I'm just interested to see how it's going to happen. You know, I feel like at this point it would make more sense to kind of pivot and do like Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, where they could keep playing with a human becoming a Pokemon rather than Detective Pikachu 2. But I don't know. I'm excited. I think the first one was a good movie. So hopefully the second one is also good.
Yeah. And let's say the director did like Portlandia, Tom Goes to the Mayor, and Tim and Eric awesome show, great job. So I think there's funny stuff in those, right? Well, not Tim and Eric. I'm not a big fan of that, but Portlandia was, I think, fantastic.
I said too, because I was also just looking at his wiki page. It says he collabed some with Lonely Island on SNL.
Yeah.
So depending on what he collabed on them with, some of it's not funny, but some of it is. So.
And then I Pikachu'd in my pants.
It's just going to be that Natalie Portman sketch where she's rapping, but with Detective Pikachu.
I mean, you know what? Ryan Reynolds would probably be down.
Yeah.
Let's see. And well, I think the one thing that's kind of interesting out of all this is there's a lot of motion going on right now around video games in Hollywood. And it seems like the sort of land grab that we saw with comic books, right? When comic books hit big, everybody rushed out and they tried to get whatever comic book property they could get. And we still see that going on to some degree with comic books, right?
Well, we see it with everything, you know, when Hunger Games got big, everybody wanted to do their teen dystopia.
Their YA lit, right? Like after Harry Potter and the Hunger Games, everybody had to buy up every YA lit book, no matter how good or bad it was, and turn it into a franchise. But yeah, we're starting to see that with video games, right? Like we've had a few in a row, actually, successful video games. You know, regardless of the quality of this Mario movie, it's going to make bank.
Yeah.
I don't know how good it's actually going to be, but it's going to make a lot of money. That I'm fairly confident about. And so everybody's trying to get in on it right now. And so that's, you know, particularly the Dead by Daylight announcement, but even Detective Pikachu 2, it seems like they're thinking this is the time to strike. Video game movies are hot. Let's get into this. Let's see. IGN is reporting that the Meta Quest 3 headset will reportedly be at least twice as powerful. I assume that's in reference to the 2. 2 times thinner and costs slightly more than the Quest 2, which currently costs around $400.
The Quest 3 will cost $400.99.
I'm guessing closer to $500.
Yeah, I'm willing to pay $500 for something that's twice as powerful because the Quest 2 is still holding up really well. Something that I'm kind of worried about though is if it's 2 times thinner, because it's pretty light already, and if it's even lighter, I'm a little worried about it falling off my head. So, or like me moving my head to the right and it just like flying
Goes
off.
flying and shatters.
Yeah, so it's gonna have to be pretty secure if they're making it thinner, which I'm sure that's something that they think about. It's not like they never thought about that, right? But that's what I would be worried about.
Well, they've got the Pro head strap. And if you get that actually does make it fit much more secure than just the Velcro strap. So I could see them integrating that just into the design this time around. Like that seems like a smart decision. Make it actually fit that way. But yeah, I mean, making it thinner, like unlike some of the early VR headsets, my head and neck don't hurt using the Quest 2.
Yep.
Like it's light enough that it doesn't actually hurt to wear it for, I'm rarely playing VR more than 30 minutes at a time, but it doesn't hurt to do that. So something that's even lighter and thinner is just going to make it more comfortable for people to use it for extended periods of time.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still the eye strain issue with, the low resolution and everything. They've got to work on that, I think. But, yeah, I'm glad to see, with the PlayStation VR 2 and with this, there's still investment into VR. Obviously, Apple is supposed to announce their project this summer sometime. It seems like a lot of the heat has fallen off of VR in the last couple of years, but I'm glad to see that people are still investing and they're still pushing out new products because VR, when it's good, is really, really good, and it really is a unique experience.
Yeah.
Let's see. Finally, some justice. The Sonic the Hedgehog creator, Yuji Naka, has admitted his guilt in creating Sonic the Hedgehog. There's also something about, his insider trading scheme while at Square Enix, but let's all be realistic here. His real crime is Rouge the Bat. I don't know if he actually...
I don't think he created Rouge the Bat.
I think he was maybe gone by the time Rouge got created. But she is a real criminal offense. There's some real pervert behind that character.
Well, she is a real criminal as well. She's a thief.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of sad news and everything, but not unexpected.
Yeah.
It seemed...
we all knew at this point, but still disappointing to see that it is indeed confirmed.
Right.
Sonic the Hedge Fund Hog. I apologize for that.
Nintendo has announced the Switch Mario Choose One bundle, launching March 10th. So we're actually getting it on Mario Day. This is a new bundle that when you buy it, it will, I'm guessing this is a code inside that will let you choose one of 3 Mario games. So you don't get all 3. You get to pick which one you're most interested in. The choices are Super Mario Odyssey, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, or New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, which seems like really a choice of only 2.
Yeah.
I don't know that anybody's going to choose New Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe. That's a good... I don't know if it's a good game. It's a fun game, and I actually own that game, and I think it's enjoyable. But, if I was buying a Switch for the first time and I did not own any of those games, I would definitely go for one of the other 2 games first.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like depending on if you know other people who have the games, like if you know other people who have the game, you're going for Mario Kart. If you don't know other people who have the game, you're going for Mario Odyssey.
Right.
No one's going for new Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe.
Now, see, if my Switch broke, though, I already have Odyssey and Mario Kart, so then I would just get the Mario Brothers U Deluxe. But I had never played the new Super Mario Brothers games, so
if you've never played them, they're fun. It's worth picking up, and it has 4-player cooperative play at the same time, and that's fun and unique and everything. You know, I would tell you if you were buying it off the shelf, get Super Mario 3D World.
I had Super Mario 3D World,
Yeah, I would still vote for that over you, but you know, it's still not a bad game by any stretch. Let's see, March 9th, Capcom is doing a Capcom Spotlight with more information to come on Resident Evil 4 and Mega Man Battle Network Collection and a host of other games that they have coming out soon. So that's kind of neat to see. I can't remember the last time Capcom did a Spotlight event, so that's kind of neat and fun.
Yeah.
Metroid Fusion is coming to Switch Online March 9th. I like that they're doing it March 9th, not March 10th. Yeah. Can't have Samus moving in on Mario Day. So, yeah, they had already announced this when they announced the Game Boy Advance games coming to Switch Online. They announced this at the same time. But, you know, it's good to hear it's coming soon and everything. That's a fantastic game. If you like Metroid games, Metroid Fusion's one of the best. Let's see. Sony might have to reveal exclusivity deal payments as part of a continuing fight with Microsoft and Activision. So basically, as part of discovery, anytime you get into a lawsuit, kids, they can basically subpoena all your information as part of discovery. And that's exactly what Microsoft is doing. And that means they're asking for how much is Sony paying for all these exclusivity deals like Final Fantasy 16. And it looks like they're going to have to turn over that information and reveal to Microsoft. And Microsoft can then reveal that in court. So it sounds like we might find out how much a lot of these exclusivity deals are actually costing, which is just generally kind of interesting, but also might change people's opinions of who the good guy is.
Yeah. That's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
A couple little last bits here. Yosuke Matsuda, who is the current president of Square Enix, will no longer be the president of Square Enix. This is to be approved in a meeting at June, but he is apparently all but out as president of Square Enix. He is the one, as of late December, wrote a letter still like doubling, tripling down on building games using NFTs. He was also president at the time that they sold off a lot of their Western developers. Square Enix is not in a particularly good spot right now. One might say it's a bit of chaos over there. And yeah, that's going to cost the president of the company his job. And that sounds like exactly what's going on here.
See, what's going to happen is he's going to go back in time and try and run Square Enix again and see if not selling NFTs is going to work for him.
Or is he going to go back and try to ruin them in the 16-bit era when they're at their biggest and strongest?
More likely, if we're being honest. Yeah.
Come back. Guess what? You're not creating a Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
What about calling it Infinite Fantasy?
First and only fantasy.
First and definitely not the last fantasy.
Yeah.
One and done fantasy. Last bit of news here is that Humble Bundle has a new bundle out benefiting Turkey and Syria earthquake victims. This is $30 for 72 items. Not all of its games. They have some graphic novels and different things, digital versions of graphic novels and that sort of thing in there as well. But some of the big hitters that I saw listed were Gotham Knights. That game just came out this past fall. Ghost Runner, XCOM 2, Payday 2, System Shock 1 and 2, Worms Rumble, and Stacking. So not a whole lot of giant games, but a lot of games. XCOM 2 is several years old at this point. You may already have a copy of it, but if you don't, that mixed with Ghost Runner, Gotham Knights, Payday 2, starts to make up a pretty good collection of games. And then, you're also making a donation to charity. So, you're also getting these games basically for free with a charitable donation. So it seems like one of their better bundles and everything. And if you're interested in any of those games, worth checking out. That does it for news this week, and that brings us to the big question. And if you listened last week, you know that we started trying to figure out our Mount Rushmore of gaming characters, and we kind of hit a stalemate, and we decided on just one, and that is Super Mario. So Super Mario goes up on the Mount Rushmore. This week, we're going to choose a second character to go up beside Mario. We have some names written down here from last week that we can talk about, but we can also talk about some new characters. So who would like to jump in first and make a case for one of these?
Looking at these, I feel like there's a very strong argument for Miss Pac-Man. It gives representation for arcade games. It gives us one of the most iconic female video game characters. I feel like Miss Pac-Man deserves a spot on the Mount Rushmore of video games.
I was coming in today to make that argument. So
great minds think alike.
But and yes, I think Miss Pac-Man is going to be there regardless. But what I want to do is I want us to try and figure out what are the qualifications. What do we want the presidents to represent? Because if we look at the presidents that are on Mount Rushmore, there is Lincoln, ending slavery, right, is a big thing. George Washington founding our country. Teddy Roosevelt, I'm not entirely sure.
Massive efforts for national parks and...
Yeah, okay. So then they destroyed a monument to put his face there. But, that's neither here nor there.
Details.
Right. And then Thomas Jefferson for...
writing the Declaration of Independence.
So...
I think one of my qualifications is, that we can look and see there was a historical impact from them. So,
Mario's an easy sell.
Mario's easy on that. And it's not a brand new, game might be really super cool, but doesn't have the kind of legacy. I think it needs to be legacy characters.
Yeah, so I think Mario very much, right? Establishes the game industry, becomes the figure, the face of the game industry.
Yeah.
Super Mario Brothers 1 is a incredibly influential game. Everybody who's making games today played that game at some point in their life.
Even if you know nothing about video games, you knew Mario and Luigi before they started these trailers for the new one.
Yeah.
Right. And so,
and Mario won the console wars.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he built a huge dominant company in the industry that is still part of the industry to this day and still highly important to the industry. He is the Mickey Mouse of video gaming.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, I think, right, if you're viewing the Mount Rushmore as having a huge influence into the history of the industry in the way that the four presidents had a huge influence into, the history of our country, right? Then I think from that perspective, right, you can approach these and look at them. I think Miss Pac-Man makes a compelling case. The original Miss Pac-Man arcade game, beyond just the story of how it came about and everything, and as this sort of modified cabinet originally, and then they came in and were like, no, let's actually make this a real game, and we'll actually distribute it. But then it becomes the most successful arcade game ever.
Yeah.
Right? It's more successful than the original Pac-Man. It's a better game than the original Pac-Man.
Yeah. And not everybody knew Pac-Man, but everyone knew Ms. Pac-Man. Like once it started bringing arcade game characters out to the big thing, I would say.
Yeah, though, you know, Ms. Pac-Man doesn't have a whole song about her. There's no Ms. Pac-Man fever.
Right.
So I suppose
Are you sure? I guarantee you I can find one on YouTube.
No, I suppose it is Pac-Man fever. I've got Pac-Man fever, right? Like,
She's a Pac-Man.
yeah, she is a Pac-Man, so it's not necessarily about Mr. Pac-Man.
Right.
It could just easily be about Miss Pac-Man. By the way, she's also not Miss Pac-Man anymore. Now they've renamed her to Pac-Mom.
Yeah.
It's
That
a
was
legal rights issue.
I'll say there was legal rights. That was a few years ago.
Yeah.
I don't like Pac-Mom.
No, she's still Miss Pac-Man.
Yeah.
She's a Miss Pac-Man.
Ms. Pac-Man is fiercely independent. Pac-Mom drives a van and brings her kids to soccer.
Yeah, I mean, well,
I mean, let's not degrade the work of moms that
No,
much.
that's fine. But it changes the character.
yeah, I mean, I think,
Are any of the Pac-Man characters known for having real deep characters?
I mean, they had their own Saturday morning cartoon. They had their own, like, hit song. That's more characterization than most video game characters get.
That's fair.
Yeah. And if we're going by songs, then Buck Bumble should be up there.
Hey, you won't get too much of an argument about that from me.
If we're going with songs, the Sonic series has some of the best video game music ever made.
I think there's a strong argument for Miss Pac-Man. And I think, you know, there's also the argument that she broke down barriers
Yeah.
as a female
Yeah.
video game character, right? Not that she's the first, but she is the most prominent early female video game character.
Well, again, it comes back, you know, I could show this list to my mom and she would not know Samus, for example. Like, Samus was incredible for being a badass female character who no one judged on being female until you got to the end of the game and realized it. But my mom knows Miss Pac-Man. You know?
Yeah, and I mean, there's something to be said for the fact that Samus, in that first game, it is hidden what her gender is, right? Right up until the end.
Yeah.
They even lie about it in the instruction manual, and use the he pronoun.
Oh yeah, I absolutely wasn't using that to discredit Samus from the list. Just
No, I'm saying
to emphasize Miss Pac-Man.
There is something to be said that Miss Pac-Man is more of a carrier for that flame for women's rights in video games because she never hid that fact, right? You can look at her and go, oh, that's a female character. She has a bright red bow on her head.
Yeah.
I mean, we can talk about how maybe that's not the most empowering thing, but like Birdo also wears a bow on her head. And so, you know, there's nothing to be ashamed of with that.
I say there's nothing wrong with having a bow, and Ms. Pac-Man was always put forth as that's Ms. Pac-Man. She's got a bow.
Yeah, so I mean, I think one of the things that we definitely want is a character that represents women in gaming, and you know, really, it comes down to a handful, right? That you can really that would be recognizable to the general public. It is Miss Pac-Man. It is Samus. It is Lara Croft, and beyond that, you know, Princess Zelda or you know, Princess Peach. It would be one of them, but you know, you're going to have Mario already on there. You're not going to put Princess Peach on there. And you want to bring some of the like sort of diversity of games, and certainly few games have been more important to the history of games in general than the Pac-Man series.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can definitely go with Miss Pac-Man. All right, so we want to put it in stone.
Let's do it.
Yes.
All right. So going up next to Mario is Miss Pac-Man, bow and all on her head. And by the way, it is Miss Pac-Man, not Pac-Mom. Miss Pac-Man is a mom as well. There's Pac Jr. along for the ride, right? She's a very good mother, but she is she is the original Miss Pac-Man.
Yes.
All right.
And so I briefly mentioned this last time, but I think that Mario, there's room to say that Bowser came and blew up Mario and made it Bowser. And then Waluigi came and blew up Bowser and made it Waluigi.
I think we can address that when we're done with all four.
Okay.
And then we can
I
talk
think
about
Ryan needs to be here for that conversation.
That's fair.
then
They
we
would
can talk
be
about
very sad to miss out on Waluigi.
That's fair.
we can talk about the chronology of
Okay.
this monument and what happens to it after it's been erected.
Okay. So this is original. This is the OG.
Yes.
Yeah, these are our original four, and then we can do all of our fan fiction about where that goes
Okay.
from there.
Okay.
All right. Well, that does it for this week. We will be back soon with another episode, and we will talk about who our third character to go up on that mountain is. And thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, OJ and Alicia, for joining me. And we will be back soon with a whole nother episode. Check out SalukiGames.com. Have a good week.
Happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary.